remember something exploded or something.
Do not open any packages.
We heard an explosion and my neighbors were outside on the ground.
The Austin bombings were a series of attacks on innocent people in Austin during a 19-day span in March 2018.
Explosion in the house and people are injured in here.
Smoke alarm, there's blood everywhere.
The bars, they think it's like a bomb or something. I don't know.
Our community was under siege because we didn't know if there was going to be 1, 2, how many more bombings were going to happen. And when we realized it was more than just one, that's when we realized this is a big deal. This is a dangerous situation. This is frightening.
I think there was exhaustion at some point, both internally and exhaustion in the community of just, how long can we keep this up?
We never knew when another one was going to happen, and they just kept coming.
I don't think I've ever seen a community kind of just stop. Everyone just kind of stopped out of fear.
Even to this day, don't fully understand why this happened and why people that were completely without any fault in any relationship to this were harmed and killed by it.
5 years ago, I was a reporter here at KVUE and became the station's lead reporter on the Austin bombing attacks.
We were co-anchors anchoring Daybreak News.
I was the executive producer.
One of the point people capturing the images of the various bombing scenes.
I was the senior producer.
I was the news director.
5 years ago, one of the biggest stories of my career when a serial bomber attacked Austin, and we're looking back.
It was just a really loud, deep boom, and it shook the windows.
On March 2nd, 2018, a man who lived in the Pflugerville area named Anthony Stephen House died from an explosion. It was a very unusual story for us to cover.
March 2nd was just another news day. We're running through, we've done reporting on gas lines and aging gas infrastructure, and our first thought is this a gas explosion?
Well, maybe someone's stove, they had an incident with the stove, or one of their wires got mixed up, maybe something got wet. I think that was my first reaction, and I just it's news. So I just was not expecting that to happen again, always expecting something else to happen, not that.
We were at the Cowboy Breakfast, the annual kickoff for the Rodeo Austin, and we had a blast. It was a fun day. Mm-hmm. And I can still remember towards the end of the newscast, we were getting reports of a bomb or a suspected bomb.
It sounded like an explosion. My next door neighbor's down with his face down and blood everywhere.
There had been someone seriously injured in this bomb that had gone off, and as you said, they didn't know if it was intentional. They had no idea if it was an accident. It just seemed like, oh wow, what a horrific thing to have happen.
Yeah.
By 2018, I had been in journalism for 33 years. So over that many years, you see a lot of unusual stories. That was definitely an unusual story.
I was on that scene, and we stayed there for, we were there for a really long time. Waiting for the police to come give us a statement. At first, they were speculating it could have been this, could have been that. They didn't really have it nailed down to being a bomb until they did the police briefing, and then it was the chief and a lot of his assistant chief.
No information right now that makes us believe this is anything beyond an isolated incident.
It was a total change of pace, right? Happy, let's talk about the rodeo. And then we just came back to the station. We were like, wait, what? We pivoted and we just kind of figured out and tried to get more information as to what happened and where this took place. And most importantly, why? And, so many questions.
And who the person was.
Yeah.
At that time, we didn't really know who the person was. The first victim of this bomber was a great man with a family and lived and worked hard. And so as the information started to slowly come out, we realized the gravity of what was happening.
Sometimes as a journalist, you can have access or gain certain access to information that investigators may not be putting out to the public to at least kind of help shape our reporting and how we go about our reporting efforts. But in this case, they just really didn't know, which added to the strangeness of it.
It was Joseph Chacon that was there, and he said, you know, we're not sure yet, but at this point it may be a homicide. Maybe, you know, we're not really sure.
I do not believe that we have somebody that's going around leaving packages like
And then
this.
it was not until days later that they started making some more connections and realizing this was not a homicide and this was not a suspicious death, this was something else.
The two people that are hurt, are they having any difficulty breathing? Yes, my grandson.
My neighbor, something exploded or something?
Do not open any packages.
We heard an explosion and my neighbors were outside on the ground.
I will never forget March 12, 2018.
There was just a loud, loud boom.
That lady had opened a package and exploded in her face.
3 package explosions in just 10 days. 2 people are now dead and 2 others have been hurt.
We have live team.
I woke up a little bit after 7, and I was actually watching KVUE and saw in an early morning cut-in that authorities were responding to a possible explosion at a home in East Austin.
They did kill a 17-year-old boy and sent a woman
Tony
and a boy to the
Plahetsky
hospital.
at that point was probably all over it, because it just, you're not going to have 3 of the exact same
Who is attacking these
dangerous
people and
incidents
why?
happen right back to back to back to back to back.
It was in that moment that I knew someone was attacking our city. I was already starting to make dozens of phone calls to anybody who would talk to me just to say, what in the hell is going on right now? I'll never forget stepping out just for a brief moment to try to grab something to eat that I heard the report of a third attack, a second attack that morning.
Still a very active scene. The 75-year-old Hispanic woman found a package on her front porch. When she went to pick it up, it exploded.
At that point, on the 12th, we realized, hey, this is bigger than what we realized. We understood about what was going on.
When we had that revelation, I mean, to me at least, things changed because I thought, this is serious. How many more packages are en route? How many more packages are out there? You know, who's going to be next?
To know, you know, what our community was dealing with in that moment. You know, when Chief Manley is saying, if you get a package that you weren't expecting,
show up
don't
at your
touch
home
it.
and you were not expecting a delivery. If the package that is delivered to your doorstep looks suspicious in any way, call 911, report it. We will respond.
That's a really scary thing.
Everyone gets packages. Everyone gets mail.
Anything we can do to let people know,
Do not open any
a package
packages
that you are not expecting. It was a moment in time when I thought the work we are doing right now quite literally could save lives.
That day is when the Austin community was really nervous.
The first 2 victims, Mr. House and Drayla Mason, were black, and that the third victim was Hispanic.
Everyone assumed that they were targeting people of color.
That was a big narrative thread that investigators were pulling at the time.
The black and brown community, including myself, was really nervous because we felt like we were under attack.
That absolutely made the fear and the concern of an attack on minority Austinites really ratchet up.
Those were long, long days.
It was all hands on deck. I remember during that time, once I got through with my shift, I literally went home, changed clothes, ate, came back. Everybody was here. I mean, a lot of people were just kind of living at the station at that time. I mean, we just didn't know what was going to happen next.
These stories are very upsetting to cover. There's comfort in the team that you've got a mission.
This is our community, and you know, especially when something like that is happening, it's hard because you've got to stay focused and you've got to do the work, but at the same time, you're worried about it in the same way that everybody else is.
We spent so much time telling people, don't open packages, don't open packages, don't open packages. And then that message got totally neutralized on March 18th, Sunday, March 18th, when the bomber used a tripwire that injured his next 2 victims.
Breaking news tonight, reports of 2 more bomb explosions in Austin. These happened in southwest Austin. There are 2 people who have been injured in this one confirmed detonation. It is 2 males.
It showed us kind of an increase in the sophistication. You know, this is completely different. That was a really big wake-up call, just more uncertainty for the city when we've already been through this 2-3 times already. And now here we go again.
I can remember thinking that Sunday morning, there was just a feeling that I had, just a very sixth sense, like I think something is going to happen today.
I remember my partner waking me up and he said he did it again. I checked my phone and that's when I had a bunch of missed calls, and then I just started getting dressed and I just went into work. I remember arguing with my partner because he did not want me to go to work. He said, why do you have to go in? Like, we don't know this guy. Like, we don't know, what if he's gonna target the news stations next? And I just remember looking at him and saying, it's my job, I have to go. And I left.
We had crews to get statements from the police department. We had crews on the individual scenes. We had reporters working behind the scenes, trying to find out information. We were all over it. You think you've seen everything, and then, wow, something like that happens.
We even had experts talking about how if he changed his MO, if he's got more to come.
But if, in fact, it is the same bomber, then in essence what you have here is a very crafty individual.
If he's willing to just randomly put these out in the sidewalk, where can we be safe? I think that was the overall thought for most people.
That was really sinking in, I think, to the public and to us that this could happen anywhere. We don't know what is going to happen next.
And that's when the entire community was like, okay, he or she, we don't know who it was, is going to target anyone or everyone.
There was a false alarm in the middle of all this.
In the early morning, the package bomb goes off at the FedEx facility outside San Antonio. And then on the evening was when a report came in of explosives found at a Goodwill donation center.
There was an immediate thought that this was the latest bomb.
There were just tons of federal agents, but what struck me most was the fear on people's faces, the community. There was real panic.
Something that really highlights just how jittery this whole city was.
Our community was struggling with the uncertainty and with not knowing when and where the next bombing is gonna happen.
Got an explosion inside the vehicle.
My neighbor, something exploded or something?
Do not open any packages.
We heard an explosion and my neighbors were outside on the ground.
On March 21st, 2018, that's the day that this all came to an end.
He's on the move. Vance made contact with him. Got an explosion inside the vehicle.
We got a call from ABC News in New York that the bomber is dead. I remember kind of pausing, looking at my executive producer at the time, and I said, "They say that he's dead." And she said, "No, we would know. We would know about this." My next call was to Tony Plahetsky.
And around 2:45 in the morning, I woke up to my phone going off. And I checked my phone and I realized, oh my God, I've slept through like a series of phone calls. I thought, oh my God, what is happening? So I instantly texted Tim.
You can rely on what Tony is going to report.
Told him that the information that I had was reportable.
He has access to information that is confirmed.
And at 3:19 in the morning, we were the first station to say on the air that the suspected bomber was dead.
Welcome back. We're following breaking news this morning at 5:35. APD, FBI on scene trying to arrest the suspect in the bombing incidents that have happened.
It felt like everything just happened within seconds. I remember calling Yvonne, I called Brian, and I said, I need you here ASAP. Tim, the news director at the time, said, somebody needs to go on air now. And I said, I don't have anybody here. There's no one here. Wearing his golf shirt, he hopped on air. I grabbed my headsets, ran to the booth.
I'm Tim Ryan. I'm the news director here at KVUE, and we have information from Tony Plowetsky, who works for KVUE and the Austin American-Statesman. Confirmation that the suspect in these bombings is dead. I don't know if it was the right decision, honestly, in hindsight, for me to go on the air. We could have waited, but I remembered thinking that it was just so important that we had to get it out immediately.
I remember I walked in and the news director was on the desk, letting the public know.
Where they had him was actually on that's the way I go to work. So they called me. I was just getting out of the shower and the phone rang, and I saw it was our executive producer at the time. And she said, hey, you need to get in. They've caught the bomber. And so I rushed to get in, started heading that way, and it was shut down. The entire feeder road for I-35 southbound was shut down. So I went the back way, not knowing that's what I just witnessed.
Yeah, you came across it.
Came all the way to work, and they told me where it was. I said, oh my gosh, I just saw.
It was hectic. It was hectic. Constant communication with Tony.
From the get-go, our reporting was very authentic. Our reporting was honest. We were getting information in real time.
Absolutely. If you could zoom out, we're going to get Tony in here right now. We've got
I was in
breaking
news for a long time. Nothing had ever scared me like that, just because of the uncertainty of it all. I wanted it to stop. So if getting on air and telling the community this person is dead is going to put an end to it, at least for the time being, then that's all that mattered to me.
There was this moment when I finally learned some identifying information about the bomber, and I was kind of so frantic and discombobulated. I think I still had like my earbuds in my ear.
News here to bring you. Important part of this story, obviously, is who this person is. Tony's been working the phones.
I remember that. Even when Tony walked in, I mean, he was kind of disheveled, but he was still getting information. He had his earbuds in, but it didn't matter. It was like, hey, it's not about looking perfect and looking polished. It's about getting the right information and getting it confirmed 1, 2, 3 sources and getting it out there to the public in real time.
The suspect is deceased.
I think the hardest part was the day that he blew himself up, because I had images of his truck, mangled, and I can't show the community that part. That's probably what a lot of people want to see, to believe like, okay, this person is gone. I can ask my camera operator to zoom all the way out, so all they see is this truck. I can have Brian and Yvonne say over and over and over again, he's dead.
Obviously, he killed himself.
That's probably the only part in my career where I wish I could show them that one gruesome moment, because everyone was so scared and a lot of people wanted to see it to believe it. That's the only time in my 11 years of being a journalist that I wanted to show them something like that. Never ever wanted to do that before.
Everyone at home is feeling the same way that you're feeling. You're trying to hide it because you want to make sure you're calm and composed and you give out the information, but I'm sure everyone else was just as concerned and worried as we were.
We have a job to do, and we're serious about our job, and so on the one hand, we're gonna show up even when it's hard and when it's difficult. But at the same time, we live here and work here and go to school here.
We were scared together. I think a few of us cried together. So I don't necessarily know if the community will ever be able to heal from something like that. Lives were lost. There's a lot of people who come to Austin and may not know the history of this attack on the city. But for those of us who were here for it, I don't think I've spoken to a single person who has said they have healed from it.
It bonded the whole city together in a very unique way. You could feel the gasp of relief when he was finally tracked down and stopped. People that were here at the time felt like a big group together, having gone through that experience.
The truth is, I don't know that Austin has fully healed from this. I think every year, especially on the anniversary of the family members who lost loved ones and the pain that they undoubtedly still feel,
These were innocent people, you know, just getting their mail, just walking down the street, and then now they're getting injured and getting killed. They had family members. They had promising lives ahead of them.
Raylan Mason, and the more we found out about him, the more that kid, he just turned out to be a fantastic kid. It's just so tragic. They had a memorial for him, and I kept that handout.
There was a victim here that had a life and had a story, and our job was to tell that side of the horrific event as well.
Every March in the years since, I think of the Austin bombings, particularly on those big days.
If it happened today, I'd be just as scared today as I was 5 years ago.
One sign of hope, though, is that it definitely reaffirmed to me that in a time of crisis, communities do come together. They do take care of each other. Neighbors were alerting neighbors about the danger that was out there. And so that's something that, as an Austinite, I took pride in then and still take pride in now.